Canada is currently embroiled in an exceptionally complex and high-stakes re-evaluation of its long-standing strategic plans to acquire a fleet of F-35 fighter jets from the United States. This re-evaluation represents a significant and potentially seismic strategic pivot for the nation's entire defense posture. Welcome viewers to my channel. Please subscribe, like my video and turn on notifications so you don't miss our next update. In a decisive and public move, Defense Minister Bill Blair has officially confirmed that the government is actively and comprehensively exploring a range of alternative options, a decision that is fundamentally driven by a complex interplay of geopolitical shifts, acute economic considerations, and escalating domestic political pressures. This reassessment is not an isolated event. It is taking place against a highly charged backdrop of aggressive and unpredictable rhetoric emanating from the Trump administration, recent and unresolved trade disputes between the two nations, and the notable recent decision by Portugal to completely abandon its own planned F-35 purchase. These converging and powerful factors have collectively and forcefully prompted a serious national discussion about the fundamental reliability and trustworthiness of the United States as a long-term defense partner. This growing skepticism has, in turn, fueled a powerful domestic movement for Canada to achieve a greater degree of national autonomy and self-sufficiency in its defense capabilities. The overarching question now is whether the benefits of this new approach outweigh the significant financial and logistical risks. The complexities and profound implications of a potential policy shift. The current reassessment of the F-35 procurement program is far more than a routine defense review or a minor adjustment. It represents a potential fundamental and philosophical shift in Canada's entire procurement strategy. Despite the fact that the government had already signed a binding $19 billion contract with the U.S. defense giant Lockheed Martin in June 2023, public and political pressure has mounted relentlessly to cancel the deal outright. This widespread sentiment is rooted in a growing national desire to secure defense solutions that offer substantial and tangible economic benefits for Canada, such as creating high-tech domestic jobs and fostering a more resilient aerospace industry. It also reflects a deep-seated desire to reduce the nation's overwhelming reliance on a single foreign supplier, especially one whose political landscape can be so demonstrably volatile and unpredictable. The national mood has shifted towards a greater appreciation for self-reliance and the strategic advantages of diversifying its defense partners. This move away from a single-source supplier is viewed by many as a necessary evolution of Canadian defense policy in the 21st century. During a widely watched and notable interview on CBC's Power and Politics, Defense Minister Bill Blair articulated the government's newfound and profound skepticism about a full fleet of 88 F-35s. While the military, specifically the Royal Canadian Air Force, had previously identified the F-35 as its unequivocal top choice for its operational capabilities, Blair indicated that the government is now seriously and systematically considering a mixed fleet approach. This strategic model, which has been long and consistently resisted by military planners who favor a single, standardized fleet for reasons of efficiency and simplicity, is now being actively championed by Prime Minister Mark Carney. Prime Minister Carney has specifically tasked Minister Blair with engaging in detailed negotiations with alternative suppliers to find a more balanced solution that can simultaneously serve both the critical military needs of the nation and its broader, long-term national interests and economic sovereignty. The goal is to strike a more harmonious balance between operational requirements and national economic priorities, a balance that has historically been difficult to achieve in such large-scale procurement projects. Exploring alternatives. The allure and the significant drawbacks of a mixed fleet. The leading and most compelling alternative to the F-35 is the Swedish-built Saab Gripen, which finished as the highly regarded runner-up in the original competition. The Swedish proposal has an undeniable and powerful allure, primarily due to two key promises that align directly with Canada's new priorities. The final assembly of the jets would take place in Canada, and, crucially, there would be a full and unrestricted transfer of intellectual property. This would grant Canada the unprecedented ability to perform its own deep maintenance, extensive repairs, and system upgrades, and thereby sustain the entire fleet domestically over its long lifespan. This would not only foster significant high-tech job growth but also fundamentally strengthen Canada's national aerospace industry, making it more self-sufficient and competitive on the global stage. This level of operational and technical autonomy is a significant and strategic advantage over the F-35 agreement, which would keep much of the long-term maintenance, technical control, and proprietary knowledge firmly in U.S. hands, a point of increasing concern given the current political climate. However, the implementation of a mixed fleet presents substantial logistical and financial challenges that cannot be ignored or easily overcome. The Canadian Air Force has historically and consistently opposed this model, citing the immense operational complexity and staggering costs it would introduce. A mixed fleet would necessitate the establishment of entirely separate and parallel systems for pilot and maintenance crew training, distinct and separate supply chains for parts and components, and dedicated hangar space and infrastructure that is not interchangeable. For decades, military planners have argued convincingly that these complexities would be prohibitively expensive, operationally inefficient, and potentially degrade overall readiness. While Canada did, in fact, successfully operate mixed fleets until the 1980s, modern defense systems are far more technologically integrated, with intricate software and networking requirements, making the challenge today exponentially greater and more difficult to manage. The interoperability issues alone would be a massive undertaking, requiring substantial investment in new IT infrastructure and personnel training, and potentially delaying the full operational capability of the new fleet. Navigating financial penalties and the erosion of geopolitical trust. Lockheed Martin has maintained a professional and measured stance throughout this unfolding process, despite the uncertainty. In an official statement, Rebecca Miller, the company's director of global media relations, highlighted the strong partnership and history it shares with the Royal Canadian Air Force and the government. She also clarified that foreign military sales are structured as government-to-government transactions, thereby deferring further comment to the U.S. or Canadian governments. Miller also directly addressed and definitively debunked persistent online rumors about a kill switch that could remotely disable Allied aircraft, emphasizing that the company provides its customers with all the necessary data and infrastructure to fully sustain their own jets for their entire operational life. This statement was clearly designed to reassure allies and counter growing public skepticism about the reliability of U.S. military technology in an increasingly tense geopolitical landscape. If Canada ultimately chooses to cancel or significantly reduce its order for the F-35s, it will undoubtedly incur a substantial and significant financial penalty, though the exact cost remains undisclosed to the public. Retired Lieutenant Colonel and former F-35 test pilot Billy Flynn believes that the aggressive and unpredictable political rhetoric from the Trump administration has fundamentally eroded the deep trust that has traditionally underpinned defense procurement between the two nations. He argues that Canada must now view the entire contract from a purely transactional perspective, meticulously weighing the potential risks against the tangible benefits. This shift in perspective is a stark departure from the long-standing and cooperative defense relationship that has defined the two countries. The core of the problem, according to Flynn, is that Canada can no longer assume that political stability and a friendly relationship will always prevail, a dangerous assumption that previous generations of leaders could rely on. The potential for a future administration to use defense procurement as a political or economic weapon has become a central concern in the Canadian government's strategic calculations. A final, yet absolutely critical, factor in this decision is the profound impact on Canada's domestic aerospace industry. Canadian companies are deeply and intricately integrated into the F-35's global supply chain, a partnership that has generated an estimated $1.3 billion for the Canadian economy between 1997 and 2021. Any change to the F-35 purchase could directly jeopardize this significant economic benefit and the thousands of high-skilled jobs it supports across the country. The government's final decision is therefore a delicate and precarious balancing act between ensuring robust national security, promoting long-term economic sovereignty, and navigating the significant political and financial repercussions of breaking a signed contract with its closest ally. The government must painstakingly weigh the strategic benefits of a mixed fleet and the support it would provide to the domestic industry against the daunting logistical complexities and the potential financial penalties of changing course so late in the process. This decision will define Canada's defense procurement strategy for decades to come, and its outcome will be watched closely by other U.S. allies around the world.